The Chinese government has been bailing out real estate within China. This is the biggest housing bailout ever. Just buying up empty places, creating a false need for further demand, instead of allowing it to find the natural balance. 10 years have passed since the subprime crisis became evident, yet there are still the same issues present today. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to have our focus on Chinese real estate. Let's begin. A push by the Chinese government to ease local housing gluts and fill empty apartments is creating a different headache by driving indebted cities deeper into the red. This is a problem that exists in China, but look around the world. It's everywhere. Under Beijing's direction, more than 200 cities across China for the last 3 years have been buying surplus apartments from property developers and moving in families from condemned city blocks and nearby villages. China's housing ministry, which is behind the purchases, said it plans to continue the program through 2020. This is a bailout on a mass scale. 200 cities are involved, where the government comes in and rescues the property developers and everyone involved along the line. All the commodities that are being used, you want the economic engine to keep going. Of course, this is in a way public works, getting people working. That's supposed to be a temporary measure. I don't agree with it to begin with, but that's what it is. A temporary measure until things go on a firm footing at some point in the future. However, if you go to this extent, it's not public works anymore. It's simply nationalizing everything. They might as well just own everything, which they basically do. The strategy, supported by central government bank lending, has rescued housing developers and lifted the property market, which accounts for 1/3 of China's economic growth. Now, central government bank lending, we're talking about printing up money out of thin air and lending it to these companies which probably will never pay back. It's quantitative easing, it's intervention in a way, and you can't go to this extent and ever resolve an issue. This is supposed to plug up small holes. It's not supposed to fill a canyon. It's not supposed to be able to resolve underlying issues. It's a band-aid fix. And you see today how bad it has become in China. Further along in this article, local governments in 2016 borrowed basically 1 trillion yuan from the bank. The government's main housing lender, 9 times the level 3 years earlier. It's getting worse, consistently getting worse. Think for a moment about all of those ghost cities that were reported on. I reported on them here. And more recently, I have been told by various people that that information is false. There are no ghost cities. And we know that's not true. Of course, there are ghost cities, but the reports were that at one point they were empty and now they are filling up. And it is my belief that the central bank intervention, Chinese government intervention, has been using these ghost cities to house these people. Finding a spot for them, get them going, maybe provide them jobs, who knows, get them in there, and then hopefully down the road, everything will fix itself. This is the biggest housing bailout ever because it involves so much. It's not just like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac taking on the bad debt. This is literally stepping into the system and effectively nationalizing everything. More than half of last year's loans went to purchases or subsidized buying. Just think about that. They've taken over, completely taken over. True communism, when they just own and control everything. The government's role in the housing market continues to grow. Of all the residential floor spaces sold in China last year, 18% was purchased by government entities or with state subsidies. That's according to official government data. They're not scared of that. The share could reach 24% this year. Think about that for a moment. 1/4 of the real estate in China is going to be owned by the government. That's big news. Why has this information not been brought out to the public? Why are we not allowed to know how in depth these public works projects, these bailouts are today? Everybody needs China to continue to grow. Industrial commodities going that way. You see they're buying up the debt of foreign countries. They're able to make products more so than other countries. They're manufacturing and everything else. That needs to continue, all of that. But of course that can't happen. And you're seeing the GDP, the fake GDP numbers, even those are dropping. It's no coincidence then that we see this activity, where the central banks are engaging in quantitative easing measures. They are trying to fill in all these gaps, and lo and behold, the cracks appeared. 1/4 of the homes. That's unprecedented. For years, China's top officials have touted their ambitious policy priority to wean the world's second largest economy off high levels of debt. There's not much to show for it. In fact, the debt pile at Chinese firms has been climbing in that time, levels at the end of September growing at the fastest pace in 4 years. It continued even as policymakers roll out a series of measures to end the explosive growth of debt, including persuading state firms and local governments to prune borrowing and tighter rules and monitoring a bank's short-term borrowing. This completely contradicts what I just showed you. Official government statistics showing you they're buying up all the real estate. Entire cities are being bought up now. Housing people, trying to get the engine moving. And then on one hand they say, oh, right, well, we're just trying to protect you. We are just going to, make sure we tighten the belt, get everything going, but we want to be restrictive and not have any bubbles appearing. What about that real estate bubble? Did you forget about that one? Shadow banking, my favorite. It rises faster than the on-balance sheet credit. This here, you could see the percentage change that exists. Whatever area you want to look at, I mean, shadow banking here, but it doesn't matter. Everything is looking terribly right now in China. But as I said earlier, it's not just China. It's the whole world. But I'm just pointing at that in this particular video. You need to understand that there will be, of course, some individuals who will try to defend what's happening here, but it needs to be exposed. And I, for one, am going to speak out about it wherever I see it. Doesn't matter what country that is, I'm here to defend the truth. Total debt for 2,100 China-listed firms continues to grow. Year-over-year change, not as significant, but essentially we are seeing in the last year that has been growing as well. Continuously increasing. The bailout of Chinese real estate, as far as I'm aware, has not been made public until right now. I hope that you found it informative. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. We need to get this message out to more people. They need to understand that. Simply by giving me a thumbs up, that's important. If you want to support me in another way, if you happen to watch the advertisements or let them play, that supports me as well. I'm sure that most people don't like the advertisements, but if you want to support me, that's one thing you can do. Let them run through. And another thing you can do is comment on this video. I will try to reply to you. I am the YouTuber that replies to subscribers more than anybody else. I spend anywhere between 30 minutes to 1 hour a day replying to comments and emails. Find me somebody else who does that. I really respect many of the individuals out there. Just so many knowledgeable people that are sharing through the comments. I wish they would do their own YouTube channels as well sometimes. But regardless, I'm just appreciative of everyone out there. Thank you very much. That's all. If you found this video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. So, if you found them something of interest to you, links are in the description below. Take care.